It is a week and a half before Lent. So I have had the experience many times of just all of a sudden it's Ash Wednesday. I'm like, I haven't even thought of what to give up for Lent. So I figured I'd give you a heads up, a good week and a half before we get to Lent. Just first of all, Lent is a glorious opportunity to practice that interior conversion of heart. Continuing conversion is an essential piece of our Christian faith, that we believe that we always have more to grow in our relationship with God. So Lent is fundamentally, first, I just want to give you a framework of what Lent is all about. So firstly, Lent is a time to remember what Jesus has done for us, that how God has taken an initiative. He's engaged his people. From before Jesus, in the Old Testament, we hear so much about how God intervened to guide his people, to shepherd his flock, that he was the one giving them instructions on how to worship him, how to have a right relationship with him. And then in Jesus, he showed that in himself personified on earth. And furthermore, Lent is 40 days. Jesus spent 40 days fasting in the wilderness. And then Jesus endured his passion and crucifixion and death to rise from the dead. All of this was his labor. So Lent is kind of an opportunity to remember that Jesus, our God, is not just with us, he's for us. He's laboring for us. And that demands a response. We might see what Jesus has done for us, how God has been intervening and showing his mercy and guiding us, and we'd be like, oh, that's nice. But when you look at what he's done and you think of the fasting that he took on, the passion and death, like, yes, he's God, but he was fully man as well. And if you just say thanks at a mediocre, like we can never give enough thanks. Lent is a time to remember, hey, whoa, let's shake ourselves out of our own little worlds and think of what God has done and is doing for us. So the church now gives us, with that sense that Lent is a time to renew our response to God, let's consider what the church offers us, that Jesus himself invited us to take on. And Ash Wednesday, we're going to hear the three things that Jesus asked us to do. One is fasting. So we all know that. Most of us think of Lent as a time where I give something up. Fasting is a way that we practice self-control, because we all know that if we don't practice self-control, in our worst moments, our lowest passions will take over. Our hunger, our desire for food, sex, pleasure will dominate our behaviors and our actions. And so we have to practice self-control via fasting. So that's important. But that's not it, folks. That's one of three things that Jesus asked of us. First is fasting. Second is prayer. Prayer is important because, again, the whole point of Lent is to respond to what God is doing. Prayer, therefore, is a personal response to God's initiative. That's what prayer is. I don't know if you think of it that way. Usually we think of prayer as what I do for God, what I'm saying, the things I need. But prayer is actually fundamentally becoming aware of his presence and making a response. But prayer is also asking the Lord to help us, realizing that I can't figure out this relationship with God, that I'm not even fully aware of what he's asking of me, and so I want to make sure that I'm putting that relationship back in order, that I have right relationship, and prayer is important for that. And then thirdly, almsgiving. Jesus asks for prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. Almsgiving literally means to give cash money to people who have not. And not people that you trust are going to do something good with it. Is to give to those who need, the less fortunate, period. You think beggars at the time of Jesus were better trained on how to handle their finances than the poor people today? You think that people begging on the streets at Jesus' time were holier somehow and didn't use drugs or inappropriate things that they use with their money? Folks, Jesus knows what he's asking of us. Why? Because almsgiving cuts through. When you really just give money without knowing what the person is going to do with your money, that cuts through our sense of my life is about doing the right things and figuring everything out. That I have to think of others like Jesus, that he gives without counting the cost. He gives himself for our redemption, knowing, in fact, that many, most if not, will reject him, will not make a proper response. Let's not be that person. Let's make the right response to this Lent through prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. I want to let you know that there's 3 resources that we want to throw out there. I want to bring to your attention 3 resources that might help you enter into these 3 practices of Lent to make this a great Lent. Let's make this the best Lent ever. And 3 things that I think might help. Firstly, Doug Small is a candidate from somebody from our parish who's in discernment to become a deacon. He's in the final stages of preparation to become a deacon. And he's gonna lead, along with several priests, myself included, a number of talks starting February 24th. Is that right? February 24th? We're going to have a series of talks all the way through Lent, every Thursday, specifically talks on how to think of what it means to respond properly to God in the Mass, through charitable works, through what is the teaching of the Church of our responsibility to the community. So Doug Small is going to be doing a teaching series along with several other priests, myself included. Father John Nargan is going to come from one of those, Father McNair, and others. So it's going to be a tag team between Doug Small and several priests every week. So there's something for your intellectual and spiritual nourishment. Second thing is the Formed app or Formed website that we have a subscription as a parish. You can access that with a free parish subscription. Ask for the code. You can find the information on the bulletin. This website called Formed is basically Catholic Netflix, if you will, where they have a series of 3 videos called Forgiven, and that's one of many resources on Formed. But I'll just point that one out for Lent. That might be a good one to look at. It's 3 professionally made videos on the sacrament of confession. It's called Forgiven. You can find it on the website Formed. So that's another great resource to nourish your spiritual life, open up your heart, and how to better put your life in right relationship with God. Third, but not least, is an app called Hallow. I don't know, again, we all have smartphones. More people have smartphones than toothbrushes in this world that we live in. That's a fun fact. But Hallow is an app on your phone or your iPad or whatever, and you can access all kinds of prayer resources, videos, Bible studies, reflections, homilies, tons and tons of Catholic resources from excellent authors. So check out the Hallow App, perhaps. That might be one way that you can be guided through Lent. So if you're not sure what to do, download the Hallow App, and that's going to give you a variety of options to tune into. So those are three things that God is asking of us this Lent to make a better response to His initiative: prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. And there's 3 resources to help us enter into this season of Lent and get the most out of it. Really respond to God to the best of our ability through the talk series with Doug Small and priests, the Formed app, and the Hallow app. See you around.